1 year after the humans walked away from the council, the galaxy was unrecognizable. What had once been a rigid hierarchy controlled by a few ancient species had become a complex web of independent worlds, new alliances, and revolutionary technologies. Captain So Young stood on the observation deck of the New Horizon, Humanity First diplomatic vessel designed specifically for first contact with species that had never been part of the council system. Through the transparent viewport, she watched as the ship approached Kepler 186f, home to the resonance, a species that communicated through harmonic frequencies. Their greeting song is beautiful, said Dr. Tehai in the ship, Xenolinguist. They are welcoming us as star singers who bring harmony to the void. I think they like us good, So Young replied. After what we have been through, it is nice to meet someone who does not want to either worship us or destroy us. The past year had been a whirlwind of change. The Human Technical Assistance Program had grown from 5,000 volunteers to over 200,000 former council client species were achieving technological independence at a rate that shocked even human scientists. The Centauri Federation had developed their own jump drive system. The Rigel Confederacy had successfully terraformed 3 new worlds. The Tau Ceti Alliance had even begun exploring beyond the galactic rim, but it had not been without cost. The Council remaining loyalist forces had launched 3 more attacks on human positions, each one more desperate than the last. The Battle of Vega Station had lasted 6 days and cost thousands of lives on both sides. The Siege of New Geneva had only ended when the Hegemony fleet arrived to support the humans officially, breaking their centuries-old neutrality. Captain Communications Officer Eugene called from her station. We are receiving a priority transmission from Earth. It is marked with the Phoenix Protocol. So Young expression grew serious. Phoenix Protocol meant the highest level of urgency, usually reserved for existential threats to humanity. On screen, the image that appeared showed President Hey one, but she was speaking from the underground command center rather than her office. Behind her, So Young could see the organized chaos of a war room in full operation. All human vessels, this is Priority Alpha. We have confirmed intelligence that the Council is preparing something called the Final Protocol. According to our sources, it is a weapon system designed to sterilize entire star systems. Their target is Earth. The bridge fell silent. A weapon that could destroy entire star systems was beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Even the ancient Andromedans, masters of technology beyond imagination, had never created something so destructive. However, President Haywan continued, we also have some good news. The resistance movements on over 300 worlds have agreed to coordinate their efforts. The hegemony has formally allied with humanity, and we have received an unexpected offer of assistance. The image shifted to show another figure, one that made So Young gasp in surprise. Elder Quinthus of the Andromedans, the ancient being who had spoken for unity in the council chamber, was standing beside the human president. People of the galaxy, his voice carried the weight of eons. For too long, my species has remained aloof from the affairs of younger races. We believe that wisdom came with age, that the old ways were always the best ways. The humans have shown us the folly of that belief. He paused, his crystalline features seeming to glow with inner light. The Council has lost its way. They seek to maintain order through fear and destruction. This cannot be permitted. The Andromedans formally offer our alliance to humanity and all who seek true freedom among the stars. The transmission ended, leaving So Young staring at the blank screen. The Andromedans were legendary. They had been exploring the galaxy when most species were still single-celled organisms. Their technology was so advanced that it seemed like magic to younger races. If they were willing to openly oppose the Council, then everything was about to change. Captain Eugene called out again. We are receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. It is incredible. Hundreds of worlds. News of the Council fleet defeat spread across the galaxy like wildfire in the crystal spires of the Zirithi homeworld, in the hive cities of the Vorthok colonies, in the floating palaces of the Altarian elite. The same impossible reports were being confirmed. Humanity had not just survived the Council attack, they had won decisively. Ambassador Curson of the hegemony stood in his private chambers aboard the battleship Iron Fist, reading the detailed battle reports with growing admiration. His species had always respected strength, and the humans had just displayed a level of military cunning that impressed even the galaxy. Most warlike Race Commander Turville, he called to his aide, "What is the status of our fleet fully operational, sir? We have 200 warships ready for deployment. The Council has requested our assistance in containing the human threat." Corson laugh was harsh and barking. Containing them, the humans just turned the most powerful fleet in galactic history into space debris. I think the Council needs to reconsider who the real threat is. Meanwhile, on the remote mining world of Kepler 442b, something extraordinary was happening. The planet population of various species had been abandoned when the human technicians left. The air processors were failing, the mining equipment was breaking down, and the orbital shuttles could not function without human maintenance. But instead of despair, the colonists found hope in an unexpected source. Jun Seo, a human engineer who had stayed behind to help his alien friends, had quietly been training local technicians in human technology for months. The quantum resonance needs to be calibrated every 6 hours, he explained to Thizes, a young Altarian who had been working as a simple laborer, but once you understand the pattern, it becomes intuitive. His 6-fingered hands move carefully over the control panel, making adjustments that would have been impossible for his species just weeks ago, like this perfect. Junasio smiled. "You are learning faster than most humans do across the galaxy." Similar scenes were playing out on trade stations and research facilities and mining operations and agricultural colonies. The few humans who had chosen to stay behind were sharing knowledge that the Council had always kept. Restricted technologies that had been labeled too advanced for younger species were being taught to anyone willing to learn. The political implications were staggering. Dr. Neri, humanity former ambassador to the Rigel sector, met secretly with representatives from 12 different species on the neutral world of Haven Station. The meeting was held in an abandoned cargo hold far from Council surveillance. The Council power has always been based on controlling technology, she explained to the diverse group. They give each species just enough to survive, but not enough to thrive independently. They have kept us all as children, dependent on their wisdom. Ambassador Felthara of the Centauri Federation, a species that had been denied full Council membership for centuries, leaned forward eagerly. "You are saying the humans can teach us to be truly independent, not just teach," Nari replied. "Partner with humanity, never wanted to dominate the galaxy. We wanted to explore it, to learn from it, to help it grow. The Council made that impossible. Now we have a chance to build something better." But not everyone was ready for change. On the Council station, emergency sessions were being held around the clock. The Great Chamber, once a symbol of galactic unity, had become a fortress of fear and anger. "The human rebellion must be crushed," declared Prime Speaker Veltaros, his voice echoing through the chamber. "If we allow one species to defy the Council, others will follow. Chaos will consume the galaxy." Chaos Queen Speaker Zithara mandibles clicked with bitter laughter. "Half our colonies are already in revolt. The Centauri Federation has declared independence. 3 mining worlds have requested human technical assistance. The chaos has already begun." From the back of the chamber, a voice spoke up that had not been heard in centuries. Elder Quintus of the Andromedans, the oldest species in the galaxy, rarely participated in Council debates. His people had been founding members, and their wisdom was respected by all. "Perhaps," he said slowly, his ancient voice carrying easily through the chamber, "the question is not how to stop the chaos, but how to guide it. The humans have shown us something we had forgotten. That progress comes from cooperation, not domination. You would have us surrender to a species that has existed for barely a cosmic moment." Veltaros demanded. "I would have us remember why the Council was formed." Quintus replied, "Not to control, but to unite, not to dominate, but to protect. We have become the very thing we once fought against." The chamber fell silent. The truth was uncomfortable, but it was truth nonetheless. The Council had become a tool of oppression, using fear and dependency to maintain power. The humans had simply refused to continue playing that game. On Earth, President Haywan watched the galactic news feeds with a mixture of satisfaction and concern. The victory at Sol had been complete, but she knew it was just the beginning. The real test would be building something better to replace the Council failing. Otamam, her chief of staff, Secretary Dong Su, entered the office with a stack of reports. "We are receiving requests for assistance from 47 different worlds. Most are asking for technical support, but some are requesting full alliance agreements. What is our response capability?" Haywan asked. "We have about 5,000 volunteers ready to deploy as technical advisors. Another 10,000 are preparing for longer-term assignments, and the military is ready to provide protection for any world that requests it, and the risks. The Council will see this as an act of war. They will try to stop us from helping their former client species. We could be looking at a galaxy-wide conflict. The one nodded slowly. The easy path would be to retreat to human space and let the galaxy sort itself out. But that was not who humanity was. They had spent centuries helping others, even when that help was not appreciated. They would not stop now. Send the technical team. She decided if the Council wants to fight us for the right to help people, then that is a fight. We will have the decision would reshape the galaxy within months. Human advisors were working on dozens of worlds, sharing technology and knowledge that had been restricted for millennia. New alliances were forming, new possibilities were emerging on the mining world of Kepler 442b. Theises had become the first non-human to successfully repair a quantum resonance generator. His success inspired others. Soon Altarians, Centaurians, and even some Vorthek were learning human technology. We are not just fixing machines, Genesio told his growing class of alien students. We are fixing the galaxy. The Council kept everyone separate and afraid. We are bringing people together, but the Council was not giving up without a fight. Military fleets were being assembled on dozens of worlds. Propaganda broadcasts denounced the humans as dangerous revolutionaries who threatened galactic stability. Economic sanctions were imposed on any world that accepted human assistance. None of it worked. The more the Council tried to suppress the human influence, the more attractive it became. Species that had been rivals for centuries began working together, sharing human-taught technologies and techniques. The rigid hierarchy that had defined galactic civilization for millennia was crumbling. Captain So Young command ship New Horizon arrived at the Centauri homeworld to find a celebration in progress. The planet had successfully activated its first independent jump gate using human-provided technology. Millions of Centaurians filled the streets cheering their liberation from Council dependency. This is what we fought for, So Young told her crew. Not conquest, but freedom. Not dominance, but partnership. Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. On dozens of world, species that had been kept in technological infancy were rapidly advancing. Old grievances were being set aside as former enemies worked together to break free from Council control. The hegemony made its decision. First Ambassador Curson stood before his war council and announced that his species would formally ally with humanity. The Council has shown its weakness, he declared. The humans have shown their strength. We choose the winning side. Other military species quickly followed. The Tau Ceti Defense League, the Rigel Confederacy, the Outer Rim Coalition all announced their support for human independence. The Council military advantage was evaporating in desperation. Veltaros authorized the development of a new weapon, something so terrible that even the ancient Andromedans objected, called the Final Protocol. It was designed to sterilize entire star systems, turning living worlds into lifeless rocks. But word of the weapon reached human intelligence. Dr. Kyung-soo briefed President Haewon on the threat. They are building it in a secret facility in the Andromeda Galaxy. He reported if completed, it could destroy any star system, including Earth. Then we stop them. Haewon said simply, how long do we have based on our intelligence? Maybe 6 months before it is operational. Assemble our best people. Haewon ordered. This weapon cannot be allowed to exist. The mission to destroy the Final Protocol would be the most dangerous operation in human history. But it was also necessary. The galaxy was changing and humanity was leading that change. The Council old order was dying, but it was fighting back with everything it had. The next few months would determine whether the galaxy would embrace a new age of cooperation or be destroyed by those who could not accept change. The stakes had never been higher. Everything hung in the balance. The attack came at dawn Earth time. Admiral Sang-woo watched from the command bridge of the Sejong as hundreds of alien warships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. The massive fleet represented the combined military might of 12 Council species, a force that had never been assembled before. Fleet composition. Sang-woo asked calmly, though his heart was racing. 237 vessels reported. Commander Yoon Kyung from the sensor station. Altarian heavy cruisers, Vorthek battle carriers, Zirithi energy ships, and support vessels from 9 other species. They are broadcasting surrender demands. The Main screen showed the alien fleet in all its terrifying glory, ships the size of cities bristling with weapons that could crack planets. The Altarian flagship Eternal Glory alone was larger than most human space stations. "What is our response?" asked Captain Mi-young of the destroyer Dagra. "Show them what happens when you underestimate humanity," Sang-woo replied. "All units activate Project Ghost. Let us see how they handle fighting enemies they cannot see." Throughout the Sol system, what had appeared to be empty space suddenly came alive. Asteroids that had been hollowed out and fitted with engines began moving. Debris fields that had been carefully positioned over decades revealed themselves as camouflaged weapon platforms. Most shocking of all, nearly 50 human warships seemed to materialize from nowhere, their advanced stealth systems finally powering down the alien fleet, which had expected to face maybe 20 human vessels, now found themselves surrounded by over 200 hostile contacts. Impossible breathed Admiral Kethver of the Altarian fleet. "Our sensors showed nothing. How did they hide so many ships?" His tactical officer, a nervous young Altarian named Velanash, studied the readings. "So these are not just hidden ships. Some of these platforms, they are built into the asteroids themselves. They have been here for years, maybe decades." On the human flagship, Admiral Sang-woo opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. "Attention Council forces, you are trespassing in sovereign human space. You have 30 seconds to withdraw, or we will consider this an act of war." Admiral Kethver's reply was swift and arrogant. "Human vessel, you are outgunned and outnumbered. Surrender now, and we will show mercy." Sang-woo smiled grimly. "Outnumbered, Commander Yoon-kyung, please show our visitors the complete defensive grid." Across the entire Sol system, automated weapon platforms began revealing themselves. They had been built into the asteroid belt, hidden in the moons of Jupiter, camouflaged among the ice of Saturn rings. Thousands of them, each one a product of decades of secret preparation. "My God," whispered Velanash aboard the Eternal Glory. "They have turned their entire star system into a fortress. All units engage." Admiral Kethver ordered, his voice tight with sudden uncertainty. The battle that followed would be studied in military academies for centuries. The alien fleet, despite its size and power, had been designed to fight enemies who followed traditional naval combat doctrine. They expected lines of battle, direct confrontation, and predictable tactics. Instead, they faced something entirely new. Human ships did not form battle lines, they swarmed. They did not engage in direct fire exchanges. They used hit-and-run tactics, appearing from behind asteroids, firing devastating volleys, then vanishing back into the debris field. Captain Subin of the stealth destroyer Gwangju demonstrated the new human approach to warfare. Her ship, invisible to alien sensors, slipped between two massive Vorthic carriers and launched a spread of quantum torpedoes. The explosions tore through the carrier's shields, crippling both ships before they even knew they were under attack. "This is impossible," Admiral Kethver said, watching his tactical display as another 3 ships reported critical damage. "They are like ghosts. Our sensors cannot track them." But the humans were not just relying on stealth. They had spent 2 centuries studying every alien weapon system, every defensive technology, every tactical doctrine. They knew exactly where to hit for maximum effect. Commander Jae-ho of the assault frigate Pohang targeted the Altarian flagship main weapon array with surgical precision. His ship knew quantum disruptors, a human innovation that bypassed traditional shields, turned the massive vessel primary guns into scrap metal, and second shield technology is useless against quantum disruption. Jae-ho reported calmly, moving to secondary targets. The aliens began to panic. Their overwhelming numerical advantage meant nothing when they could not find their targets. Their superior firepower was worthless when their weapons could not lock on, and their advanced shields provided no protection against weapons they had never seen before. But the humans were not without losses. The alien fleet, despite its confusion, was still immensely powerful. The human cruiser Olsen was caught in a crossfire between 2 Zirithi energy ships and destroyed with all hands. The orbital platform New Bizan was obliterated by a Vorthak plasma bomb. "We are losing platforms in the outer system," reported Commander Yoon-kyung. "The aliens are adapting faster than expected." Admiral Sang-woo replied, "Phase 2 activate." Project Hammer. Deep in the asteroid belt, weapons that had been hidden for 50 years began to power up. Not ships or platforms, but something far more terrifying. Asteroids themselves, hollowed out and fitted with the most powerful human weapons ever created, began moving toward the alien fleets. Velanash called out in terror aboard the Eternal. Glory, the asteroids are moving, they are weapons platforms. The humans have weaponized their entire asteroid belt. Admiral Kethver stared at the tactical display in horror. What he had thought was a simple police action against a rebellious client. Species had turned into the most sophisticated military trap in galactic history. All units withdraw immediately, he ordered. This is not a battle we can win. But as the alien fleet tried to retreat, they discovered that the humans had planned for that. 2. The exit jump points were blocked by hidden minefields. The hyperspace lanes were disrupted by quantum scramblers. The trap was complete. Attention, Council Fleet. Admiral Sangwoo broadcast to the fleeing aliens, you came here to restore order. Let this be your lesson in what order truly means. Leave now and never return next time. We will not be so merciful. The surviving alien ships, less than half of the original fleet, limped away from the Sol system. Behind them they left the wreckage of their arrogance and the clear message that humanity was no longer anyone. Servant Admiral Kethver sat in his damaged command chair, staring at the reports of his defeat. 2/3 of his fleet was gone, destroyed by weapons and tactics he had never seen before. The humans had not just won, they had made it look easy. How? Velanash asked quietly. How did they become so powerful? Kethver thought back to 2 centuries of human servitude. All those years when humans had repaired their ships, maintained their stations, improved their systems. The aliens had thought they were watching primitive workers. In reality, they had been teaching master engineers everything about their technology. We created our own worst enemy, he said finally. We gave them access to everything we knew and never bothered to learn what they were capable of. Now we have paid the price. The news of the Council fleet defeat would spread across the galaxy like wildfire. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Council military might had been broken by a single species. The age of alien dominance was over. The age of human independence had begun back on Earth. President Hey, one watched the battle reports with a mixture of satisfaction and sadness. She had not wanted war, but the aliens had given humanity no choice. General Byung-ho reported the alien fleet is in full retreat. Our casualties are minimal, their casualties are severe. And the message, hey, one asked, sent to every world in the galaxy, the humans are no longer servants, we are partners or enemies. The choice is theirs. The galaxy would never be the same. 2 weeks after the human withdrawal, the Space Council held an emergency meeting. The great chamber, usually filled with calm debate, was now buzzing with panic and anger. Systems were failing across the galaxy, and for the first time in thousands of years, the Council faced a crisis. They could not simply vote away. Prime Speaker Veltaros stood at the central platform. His usual calm appearance was cracking. Honored delegates, we face a situation we have never seen before. The human withdrawal has caused problems throughout our space problems. Queen Speaker Zithara of the Vorthic clicked her mouthparts in fury. My homeworld orbital platforms are failing because we cannot maintain the human-modified systems. 3 of our colonies are already on emergency life support. Representative Colthane of the Crystal Like Zirathi raised his glowing form. The Jumpgate network has collapsed in 7 sectors. Trade routes that have existed for centuries are now impassable. From the back of the chamber, a new voice spoke up. Ambassador Curson of the Hegemony, a military species that had always viewed the Council with suspicion. Perhaps it is time to admit that we underestimated the humans. They were not just our servants, they were holding our civilization together. Impossible, Veltaros snapped. They are a young species, barely evolved from primitives. They cannot simply hold our entire civilization hostage, can they not? Curson voice carried amusement. Tell me, Prime Speaker, when was the last time an Altarian actually repaired a jump gate? When did your people last design a new air processor? You have grown soft, relying on human cleverness while dismissing human intelligence. The chamber erupted in angry debates. Some delegates demanded immediate military action against humanity. Others argued for diplomatic solutions. A few, like Curson, seemed almost impressed by the human bold move. Meanwhile, in human space, the effects of the withdrawal were becoming clearer. Captain Wu Jin commanded the border patrol vessel Bazan, monitoring the edge of the Sol system. His sensors showed a massive buildup of alien ships just outside human territory. They are not just stranded traders anymore, reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Hyojin I. Am reading military vessels from at least 15 different species. It looks like they are preparing for something. Any communication attempts? Wu Jin asked. Constant. The Altarians are demanding we return to reason. The Vorthak are threatening economic punishments. The Zirathi are offering to negotiate. Wu Jin studied the tactical display. Hundreds of alien ships, representing the combined might of the galaxy's most powerful species, all focused on humanity. Home system, what about the hegemony ships? That is the interesting part, sir. They are not making any demands. They are just watching back on Earth. President HFY met with her senior staff in the underground command center beneath Seoul. The room walls displayed real-time information from across human space showing the growing alien presence at their borders. Intelligence report suggests the council is split, reported Dr. Kyung-soo. About half want to negotiate, half want to use force. The hegemony is staying neutral, which is unusual for them. What about our defensive preparations? HFY asked General Byung-ho. Activated a holographic display showing the Sol system. All defense platforms are operational. The asteroid belt has been seeded with automated weapon systems. Our fleet is positioned to maximize defensive coverage, and the secret Project Hammer is ready for deployment. Project Shield has been activated around all major human worlds, and Project Ghost. He paused. Well, let us just say the aliens are in for some surprises if they try to attack. Defense Minister Insung leaned forward. Ma'am, we are receiving a priority transmission from the council station. It is marked as urgent diplomatic communication. The main screen flickered to life, showing Prime Speaker Veltaros. He looked tired, his usually perfect appearance disheveled. President HFY, I speak for the Space Council. Your species' actions have caused considerable disruption to galactic civilization. Prime Speaker HFY replied calmly, humanity has simply chosen to exercise its right to self-determination. We are no longer bound by council laws or obligations. You cannot simply abandon your responsibilities, Veltaros said, his voice rising. The systems you maintain, the services you provided, entire worlds depend on them. Then perhaps you should have considered that before treating us as second-class citizens for 2 centuries. HFY replied, we offered partnership, you gave us servitude. We offered friendship, you gave us condescension. We can discuss reforms, Veltaros said desperately. Better representation, improved trade agreements, recognition of human contributions too. Late HFY said simply, we have made our choice. Humanity will chart its own course among the stars. Then you leave. U.S. no choice, Veltaros said, his voice hardening. The council cannot allow one species to hold galactic civilization hostage. We will restore order with or without your cooperation. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in tense silence. Everyone knew what that meant. The Space Council was preparing for war. How long do we have? HFY asked. Based on their fleet positions and logistics, maybe 72 hours, General Byung-ho replied. Then we had better make sure they understand what they are getting into. HFY said, activate all defensive systems and send a message to every human world. The test of our independence is about to begin. In the depths of space, automated systems began powering up. Weapons that had been hidden for decades emerged from asteroid camouflage ships that had been disguised as civilian vessels, shed their false hulls to reveal military capabilities that would shock the galaxy. The council thought they were facing a rebellious client species. They were about to discover they had challenged the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. On distant human colonies, emergency protocols were activated. Civilian populations were moved to underground shelters. Military reserves were called to active duty. Weapons factories that had been secretly operating for decades shifted to full production. Dr. Minho worked frantically in his laboratory on Luna Station, putting the finishing touches on humanity's newest weapon systems. The aliens had always dismissed human technology as crude and simple. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The quantum disruptors are ready, he reported to General Byung-ho. Shield penetration is 100% effective against all known alien defensive systems and the stealth modifications complete. Our ships will be invisible to their sensors until we choose to reveal ourselves. General Byung-ho smiled grimly. The aliens thought they knew everything about human capabilities. They had watched human ships for 2 centuries, dismissing them as inferior, but those ships had been deliberately designed to appear weak. While the aliens built bigger and more impressive vessels, humans had focused on efficiency and effectiveness. The real human fleet had been built in secret hidden shipyards in the outer system, had been producing warships that incorporated 2 centuries of alien technology study. Every weakness in alien design had been noted and exploited, every strength had been copied and improved. Captain Subin of the stealth destroyer Guangzhou ran final checks on her ship systems. Her vessel was the first of a new class of human warships designed specifically for fighting aliens. It was smaller than most alien ships, but it was also faster, more maneuverable, and completely invisible to their sensors. All systems green, she reported, ready for combat operations. Similar reports came in from across the human fleet. Ships that had been hiding for decades were finally ready to reveal themselves. The aliens were about to face an enemy they had never imagined. The Council was preparing for a police action against a rebellious client species. Instead, they would face the most sophisticated military force in galactic history, built specifically to counter their every advantage. Everything was about to change, and humanity was ready. 3 days had passed since the humans walked out of the council meeting. The galaxy was starting to understand what they had lost. Commander Ji Woo stood on the bridge of the human battleship New Seoul, watching alien ships line up outside the Seoul system. What had been a normal trade route was now a heavily protected border. Alien ships that used to come and go freely were now stopped at the edge of human space. Status report, Ji Woo ordered. Her voice was calm, but inside she felt nervous. 47 alien vessels holding position at the jump point, reported Lieutenant Young Soo from his station. They are asking permission to dock at Luna Station for fuel and supplies. Permission denied, Ji Woo said simply. All non-human vessels must be turned away, no exceptions. On the main screen she could see the lead ship. It was an Altarian heavy cruiser. Its captain was probably confused and angry. For 200 years, human space had been open to everyone. Human stations had given fuel, food, and repairs to any ship that needed them. Human kindness had been famous throughout the galaxy. Not anymore. The communication system made a crackling sound. Human vessel, this is Captain Morden of the Altarian ship Starlight. We have been traveling for 6 days and need fuel for our return journey. Surely you will not deny us basic help. Ji Woo pressed the reply button. Altarian vessel, 3 days ago humanity left the Space Council. We have no duty to provide services to non-humans. Please leave our space immediately. This is crazy. Morden voice carried fear. The nearest non-human fuel station is 12 days away. We do not have enough fuel to reach it. Then maybe you should have thought about that before your people spent 2 centuries treating us like servants. Ji Woo replied coldly. You have 1 hour to leave our space or you will be escorted out. Meanwhile, on the council station, chaos was spreading. The station life support systems had been maintained by human workers for decades. The jump gates that connected different parts of the galaxy were human-built and human-operated. Even the translation systems that let different species talk to each other had been improved by human programmers. Dr. Yanji had been the head of the station technical department until 3 days ago. Now she watched from her ship as emergency lights began flashing throughout the massive structure. Her replacement was a Vorthek engineer named Clichter, who was desperately trying to understand the human modified systems. The air processors are failing, her assistant Taesung reported with barely hidden happiness. It seems the Vorthek engineer cannot figure out the quantum resonance changes we made last year. How long before it becomes dangerous? Yanji asked. At current rate, maybe 2 weeks before the air becomes unbreathable for most species. Yanji nodded. The humans had spent decades improving every system on the station, making them work better and last longer, but they had also made them more complex, needing specially trained workers to maintain them. Workers who were now on their way back to human space across the galaxy. The same pattern was repeating. Human-operated mining stations shut down, leaving several species without their main source of rare minerals. Human research facilities locked their doors, taking with them centuries of knowledge. Human ships that had been carrying cargo between alien worlds simply turned around and headed home. The Council had always thought that humans needed them more than they needed humans. They were about to learn how wrong they had been on Earth. President Hey, one called an emergency meeting of the Planetary Defense Council. The Oval Room was filled with humanity's best military minds. Scientists and politicians, the weight of what they had done was beginning to sink in status report from our withdrawal operations. Hey, one requested General Byung-ho stepped forward. All human personnel have been successfully evacuated from Council Space. Our defensive positions are secure. However, we are already seeing attempts by alien vessels to probe our borders. What about the money impact? Asked Finance Minister Yoon Suk. Short term, we will lose about 30% of our space trade, replied Economic Advisor Dong Min, but most of that was raw materials being shipped to alien worlds for processing, then sold back to us at high prices. We can replace those supply chains within a year. In the military situation, Haewon asked. General Byung-ho smiled grimly. Ma'am, they have no idea what we are really capable of. For 2 centuries we have been the Galaxy maintenance crew. We have had access to every alien ship design, every weapon system, every defensive network. We know their capabilities better than they do. More importantly, added Dr. Kyung-soo, the head of human intelligence, we have been preparing for this day for 50 years. While they saw us as junior partners, we saw them as potential enemies. We have been developing weapons and defenses they have never seen. President Haewon looked around the room at the determined faces of her advisors. Then we are committed. No going back, no going back. They agreed together. In the depths of space around Earth, massive defense platforms were powering up for the first time. Weapons that had been disguised as communication satellites were revealing their true purpose. Asteroid mining stations were shedding their civilian disguises to show military equipment underneath. The humans had not been idle during their 2 centuries of servitude. Every insult, every condescending comment, every unfair trade deal had been recorded and remembered. While the aliens thought they were keeping humanity in its place, humans had been planning for the day they would break free. Captain Woo Jin commanded a patrol ship at the edge of the Sol system. His job was to monitor alien movements and report any threats. His sensors were showing more and more alien ships gathering just outside human territory. They are not just lost traders anymore, reported his officer, Lieutenant Heo Jin. I am reading military vessels from at least 15 different species. It looks like they are preparing for something. Any communication attempts? Woo Jin asked. Constant. The Altarians are demanding we return to reason. The Vorthek are threatening economic punishments. The Zerathi are offering to negotiate. Den Jin studied the display. Hundreds of alien ships representing the combined might of the galaxy most powerful species, all focused on humanity home system. What about the hegemony ships? That is the interesting part, sir. They are not making any demands. They are just watching back on the council station. Emergency meetings were being held around the clock. The Great Chamber, once a symbol of galactic unity, had become a fortress of fear and anger. Half the delegates wanted to negotiate with the humans. Half wanted to use force against them. We cannot let this stand, declared Prime Speaker Valtaros. If one species can defy the council, others will follow. The natural order will collapse. But what if the natural order is wrong? Asked a quiet voice from the back. Everyone turned to see who had spoken. It was Ambassador Curson of the hegemony. His people were warriors who respected strength above all else. They had been watching the human withdrawal with growing interest. The humans have shown us something important, he continued. They have proven that the old ways are not the only ways. Maybe it is time for change. You would side with rebels against the council, Valtaros demanded. I would side with whoever is strongest, Curson replied, and right now the humans look very strong indeed. The chamber erupted in angry arguments. Some species demanded immediate military action. Others called for diplomatic solutions. A few, like the hegemony, seemed almost impressed by the human boldness. But time was running out. The longer the humans remained independent, the more other species might follow their example. The council had to act soon or risk losing control of the galaxy forever. On Earth, final preparations were being made. President one knew that the aliens would not accept human independence peacefully. War was coming and humanity had to be ready. The next few days would determine whether humans would remain free or be forced back into servitude. The galaxy was about to discover what 2 centuries of quiet preparation had produced. Everything had changed, and there was no going back. The big meeting hall of the Space Council was full of angry voices. Today, Ambassador Daeho walked slowly to the speaking place. His heart was beating fast, but his face looked calm. He had been waiting for this day for many years. For 200 Years humans had sat in the back seats of this hall. They followed rules made by older alien races. They took bad trade deals. They said yes to everything the council wanted. Today, all of that would change. Daiho looked around the huge room. It was bigger than 10 football fields put together. 47 different alien races sat in their special seats. The tall blue-skinned Altarians sat in the front. Their crystal crowns were shining under the bright lights. They thought they were the most important race in the galaxy. Behind them sat the bug-like Vorthic aliens. Their big compound eyes looked like broken glass. They had been around for thousands of years and never let anyone forget it. Every alien race in this room had treated humans like children since Earth joined the council. The room got quiet when Daiho reached the speaking platform. His voice was strong and clear when he started talking. The translation machines made sure every alien could understand him. Honored members, he said, I speak for all humans today. For 200 years we have followed your laws. We have taken your bad trade deals. We have watched you take over empty space while telling us to stay in our small corner. The blue-skinned Altarian leader named Veltaros raised his six-fingered hand. He looked annoyed. Young human, your race is still new. You must learn to be patient. The council has kept peace for 3,000 years by making sure everyone knows their place. Daiho smiled, but his eyes were cold. And what place is that? Exactly the place where we dig rocks from asteroids for your ships, where we grow food for your worlds, where we send our smartest people to fix your machines. Quiet talking started all around the room. No human had ever talked back like this before. In the human section, Captain Su Jin from Earth Defense Force sat up straight. Her hand moved to her weapon. Dr. Minho, the chief scientist, was watching the alien faces very carefully. The bug queen Vorthic clicked her mouth parts loudly. You forget yourself, human, she said angrily. Your people have been given chances to prove themselves. You have simply failed to meet our standards. Failed. Daiho voice got louder. We made 6 dead planets into living worlds in 50 years. We cured the quantum plague that was killing your people. We made your jump drive 60% faster, yet you still treat us like babies. Whole room exploded with angry sounds. The aliens were roaring, clicking, and making electronic noises. Veltaros hit his big gong to make everyone quiet. This is exactly why young races must be guided. You lack the wisdom to see the big picture. Daiho reached into his jacket and pulled out a small device. Every security scanner in the room focused on him, but he just put it on the speaking platform. This contains humanity. Formal withdrawal from the Space Council. Starting right now, all human territories, stations, and resources are no longer under council control. The silence that followed was complete. For the first time in 3,000 years, a member race was leaving the council by choice. It was impossible to believe. You cannot simply leave, Veltaros said with panic in his voice. The council maintains order. Without us, your people will destroy themselves within 1 generation. Maybe, Daiho said calmly, but that will be our choice to make. He looked around the room. One last time, we came here hoping to be partners. Instead, we found masters who see us as useful pets. We choose freedom over comfort. We choose uncertainty over being talked down to. He walked away from the platform, followed by all the other humans. As they reached the big doors, Daiho stopped and turned back. Oh, and one more thing. As of today, all human-operated facilities are closed to non-human people. That includes the 17 jump gates. We maintain the 43 research stations and the entire Sol defense grid that protects this very council station. The doors closed behind the humans with a soft sound. The room was left in complete chaos. What the aliens did not know was that this moment had been planned for months. Even now, human ships throughout the galaxy were moving to secure positions. Secret weapon systems were powering up. For the first time in decades, Captain Su Jin walked beside Daiho as they moved through the corridors. Phase 1 complete, she said quietly. All human personnel are evacuating council facilities. The defense grid is already locking down. Dr. Minho checked his datapad. Our intelligence teams have confirmed the aliens have no idea about our real capabilities. They think we are just maintenance workers and farmers. Daiho nodded as they reached their ship. The next few days would be crucial. The aliens would try to force humans back into the council. They would use threats, promises, and eventually violence, but humanity was ready too. 100 years of being treated like servants had taught them valuable lessons. They had learned how every alien weapon worked. They had studied every ship design. They had mapped every defense system in the galaxy. While the aliens saw them as junior partners, humans saw them as potential enemies. The human ship began moving away from the council station. Inside the station, emergency lights were already starting to flash. The life support systems that humans had maintained for decades were beginning to fail. The translation systems that humans had improved were showing error messages back in the council chamber. Veltaros was trying to restore order, but panic was spreading. "They cannot survive without us," he kept saying. "They will come back begging within a week," but Queen Speaker Zithara was not so sure. She had worked with human technicians for many years. She knew they were far more capable than the council believed. "What if they do not come back?" she asked. "What if they really can survive on their own?" Voltaro's blue skin turned pale at the thought. It was impossible. Young races always needed guidance. They always came back. The natural order of the galaxy demanded it, but deep down he was beginning to wonder if the humans were more dangerous than anyone had imagined. They had been quiet and obedient for 2 centuries, but maybe that had been an act. Maybe they had been planning this all along. On the human ship, Deho looked out at the stars through the window. Everything was about to change. The galaxy had been ruled by the same old races for thousands of years. They had grown lazy and arrogant. They had forgotten that every empire eventually falls. Now humanity would show them what happened when you underestimate a species that had climbed from caves to the stars in just a few thousand years. The aliens thought humans were weak because they were young, but youth also meant energy, ambition, and the willingness to take risks. The council was about to learn that the most dangerous enemy is the one you have been ignoring. The humans had been watching and learning for 2 centuries now. It was time to show what they had discovered. As the ship jumped to hyperspace, Deho smiled. The real test was just beginning. But for the first time in 200 years, humanity was free to choose its own path among the stars. Everything had shifted, and there was no going back.